Hey everybody, Jeff here, and welcome back to the channel where we give you world-class advice on remodeling your house and repairs and engineering disasters around your house. Today we're going to show you how to repair your clothes dryer when it won't heat up. So in this particular case here, we have a Samsung clothes dryer here that just won't heat up. And 9 times out of 10, the likely cause is going to be the heating element. Now there's other potential causes too, like the thermistor or your thermostat might be bad, either of those. But I can tell you from all of the dryers that I've repaired over the years here, 100% of the time it's been the heating element. That little coil that goes in there that is what makes your dryer get hot. Now I know some of you that came here are probably thinking to yourself, you know what, my appliance is only a year old. Why is my heating element failing? Well, I can tell you, and I've seen this almost 100% of the time, it's not the fault of the appliance. And you're not going to want to hear this, but it's your fault. And I'll tell you why. Because if you haven't cleaned out your vent here inside the wall, if you don't do it once a year, it's going to clog up. And when it clogs up, the air exhaust has nowhere to go. That hot, moist air is supposed to rise, go up through your wall and up and out the roof, and it's supposed to dissipate. Now, if that doesn't happen, what happens is that heat builds up inside the dryer and your heating element there gets too hot and it breaks. They're very weak. I've never seen where any of the thermistors has opened up and protected the heating element from breaking in half there. So that's a problem too. So almost every time it's because somebody didn't clean up. We filled like the entire bottom of a 13-gallon trash bag with lint, just boatloads of it. Okay, you should always unplug the dryer before you do any work on it. Okay, now you can see here, one thing I don't like about these Samsungs is the whirlpools are a lot easier to get into where the heater element is. See, we have to get in right here, back in this area. And so Whirlpool used to just have a plate along the bottom that you undo a few screws and you could get in there in 2 seconds. Here, we have to take this whole dryer pretty much apart. We have to take the lid off, and we have to pop the whole controller panel and then the frame around the door just to get into where the heater is. That's how poor the design is. So here on the back of the unit are 2 screws. There's one here, and the other one is back over here. And we just have to undo these in order to be able to remove the lid here. Now, if you don't have a dryer vent cleaning kit like this one here, and if you don't use this once a year to clean up your dryer vent port here, then you're just asking for trouble. You're asking for a fire. In fact, FEMA says that over 2,900 fires each year are caused by dryers, by people not cleaning out the vents here. How can that cause a fire? Well, because all of that lint is basically cotton, and it all dries up and it stays clogged up in here. And if it heats up because it's not flowing, because it's not clean, it causes a fire there. And so several deaths are reported each year, and $100 million of damage each year is reported by dryer fires. So make sure you have one of these, and let me show you how this works. So like the way this works here, and this is so important, that's why I'm taking a minute or two to show you. You plug the first one on here, and you just keep plugging them on one after another. They just screw right into each other here. And see how they're flexible? You stick it right in the port, and it curves. It goes all the way up inside the wall. That's why I typically use about 3 or 4 in a row to go up about 12 feet. Because you don't want to just clean inside the porthole of the wall and think you're done. You're far from done. You have to clean all the way up to the top. And in fact, when we ran this up, we'd run it up and we'd spin it like this as we go up into the wall, and it keeps pulling out more and more and more, and we left a massive pile on the floor here. And that was just from 2 years worth of lint. Can you imagine if you've never done it? And if you're ever putting together your own here, don't ever use screws, because if you run screws into the middle of it, the lint and the dust gets caught on those screws and it dams up on you and it clogs the tube. So you never want to do that. You always want to join them together with the foil tape like this. Okay, now that we have removed the 2 screws from the back here, we just simply lift it up and it slides right out. And you very carefully put it aside, put the 2 screws back in their holes here and put tape over them so they don't come back out, and just set it aside where it won't get damaged. Okay, now to remove the panel here, you just kind of go along the top and lift it up like there, and it's held in with these tabs, so we're just going to push up from the bottom. Okay, so now you have these 2 connectors here. You have to undo both of these here. So let's see if we can get these undone. That one's undone there, and then this one here. So this one here, if we can just lift this little clasp up there, see that? That should be able to pull off. So you can see how this pops out. See how this little arm here goes into that hole, and that little retainer arm goes into that hole. So when you go to pull it out, you just want to loosen the top like that and pull it straight up. Okay, now as you open the door here, you see this entire front piece here has to come off. So you can see we have 4 Phillips head screws right along the top here. Screws here, 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 and here as well, and I'll leave the door on there. There's no reason to take the door off of the frame. We're going to take the whole frame off. But just remember, there's a door open switch right here. So when we go to pull all of this off, we have to unplug that connector behind it. Okay, remember that these 2 screws at the bottom here have washers on them. Okay, so for example here, when you look around the back of this, there's a couple of things wrong here. So first of all, you should never use this type of the foil tubing here going from the dryer here to the wall vent port. And all the manufacturers will tell you that. It's crystal clear right there in their directions in the installation manual not to use these types of foil or plastic hoses because they could theoretically be a fire hazard. Now when you're looking at this, there's no guarantee. This one sort of feels like it's metal foil, but there's no guarantee that that's not some kind of mylar film that could catch fire with enough heat. So that's one of the other contributing sources to fires in a lot of people's houses associated with the dryer. Second problem here with this is, see how this is coiling all over the place like a snake? It's really not supposed to do that. It's really supposed to go from here with maybe one bend and then up to the hole. So we'll see if we can't correct this for now temporarily until we can get a better solution implemented here. See, if you just set that thing there by itself, you can see it won't stay in place. It will try to unravel itself. And when it does, it will uncoil like a slinky, and it'll drag itself all the way down to the floor, and you'll have all sorts of curves. Okay, so you can see we've added the foil tape here just to hold this slinky together so it doesn't drop. It'll stay like right where it is. So it's just a minimal curving going into the wall. In order to get this front door frame off here, you got to push down this tab here, and there's another metal tab over here, and these will help loosen the frame. So here we'll push this one down like this. See, that's loose. And we'll come over to this side, push him down. Now the whole thing will come off. Okay, so as we pull it out, remember the door open switch wire is right here. So we just have to unplug that connector. Then we can take the whole frame off. Just lifts right off at the bottom. See here on the back of the door frame and on the bottom, there's all sorts of lint. This is a great time to vacuum all of that out. And really, this is something that you can do every year or two in your dryer as well, is to vacuum out all of the dust and stuff that's back there. See how there's hairs and lint and everything? Get out what we can out of there. It's actually reasonably clean. I've seen other dryers that are not sealed off from the drum very well, and they tend to collect a lot of lint piled up in there, but this one's actually fairly clean. This one's been in operation for about 1.5 years. Okay, so the heater is right back there. You can see the coils. We get in real close there. So what we have to do is we have to undo this screw right here, okay, because you have these 2 screws here, and then there's 2 really difficult ones to get to on the back side of it, way over around back here. Okay, we have to undo this connector, so you push in here, and then you just separate. I can get him out of the way. Okay, now we'll focus our attention on these 2. Now you have to have a stubby Phillips head driver like this one here. And if you don't have this one, you're not going to be able to do this repair, because you have to reach way back behind the back side of this bracket here to get the other 2 screws that are placed similarly. And here we are. We pull the screw out here. And the best way to get to the one on the other side is to go around this way with your little stubby driver and unscrew it on the back side. So now you just pull the whole thing out. The whole assembly comes out. Okay. That's where having this screw really comes in handy when you have to get into these tight little areas. Okay, so now we're separated. Now we pull pull the bottom bracket out. Now we can twist out the heater here. You can pull out the heating element. Now once you have it out there, you get your phone out there and you get a picture of where the wires were. Take a few shots here so that you'll remember where they were when you go to put it back together. Okay, so now we have them all unplugged. Now you can pull out the entire heater element here. And there she is, there's the coil. Okay, so now we have the heating element here, and we're going to check the continuity across both of these two terminals right here, because that's where the wires go to. Okay, so what we want to see is, you don't want to see an open circuit there. What you want to see is a short circuit, essentially. You want to see continuity. So I have my fluke meter here. I'm going to turn it on and set it to ohms right here. And we can also set it so that we can hear it too, and you test it here. See, that's how you know you have continuity. So I'm going to put it on the leads here for the heating element and see if we have continuity. See, we have nothing. It's telling us there's an open circuit there, open load. So the problem here is definitely the heating element, but we need to check the thermistor here and also the thermostat, because they could have problems too. So we do the same test across their leads. See how this one here is telling us we have continuity. So he's probably okay. And this one here is telling us continuity, and he's probably okay. Okay, so I realize not everybody is going to spend the kind of money like I do on the big fluke meters, so you can also get this smaller one here too from Klein. I'll put links to both of these down in the description for you. And I highly suggest everybody have a small meter like this. You can keep it in your car, because you're most likely going to use it to check your carburetor if you ever have a problem, but you just turn it on. And I highly recommend you get an auto ranging one. Don't get a meter that you have to do it manually, tell it what range it's in. Just let the machine do all the work for you, okay? It's a lot easier. So we'll run the same test with this meter, and again we get open circuit, as you can see there. And let me test it, see, so you can see. If you put the leads together there, so it gives you continuity. If we check this one now, see, he's telling us continuity. And if we check the other one, he's also telling us continuity. Okay, so now we know we have to put a new heating element in there. So the way we have to take this apart is this whole clamshell, the top end of this housing here comes off, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 Phillips head screws there. And then when you flip it around to the other side, you'll see here that there's 1, 2, 3 Phillips head screws there. So 7 screws that we have to remove there. Okay, and then right here on the two leads where the wires connect to the heating element here, you see how it's sort of twisted down a little bit? We have to flatten these out, both of these leads, so that they can push through to the other side. And then this tab right here, both of these tabs have to be pointing perfectly straight up, so that when we loosen the top lid here, we can just pull it right up. And then lastly here, because the thermostat and the thermistor here are both attached here, top and bottom, what we have to do is loosen one of the screws on each one of these here, so that they'll come up with the lid. See, if you look real closely here at the bottom, see that little metal part right there? That's that little part that you have to straighten out. You have to flatten it out first before you can get these out of here. Okay, so I'm going to come in here on this bottom one. I've already done the top one. And you just kind of squeeze it with the tip of the pliers there to get that part to flatten out. And once you've done that, you can push the lead through. Okay, now it should push through. See, there you go. Same thing with the top one. Now we can pull our leads out. Okay, so now we have our two leads are loose now. Now we can concentrate on this tab right here. So I'm going to get my little pliers in here and just bend that lead up. There we go. Here's our heating element. Let's find the, oh, there's the brake. See right here, see there's our brake. It's very easy to find. All you do is you just start wiggling the sections till you find it, and I knew it wouldn't be too hard to find. I still don't know why these things don't last. This is a Samsung, and this thing it was put in 1 year and 4 months ago. Take a look at the middle right there. See that crack right there in the middle of the base plate there? That's incredible. That means that there must have been a huge amount of heat, because it's also not far from where the coil actually busted right there. See that? So this was definitely a problem of overheating, and what's very frustrating about even the Whirlpool clothes dryers as well is when their heater element fails. I'm always asking the question, why didn't the thermal cutoff switch kick in effect there, or stop it from overheating? It just overheated and then broke. You know, why aren't these protective circuits doing their job on these appliances? And why they made it so difficult to get in there and change it. When they know these things fail, I mean, this is the most common part to fail on a dryer, and why they don't make these things much easier to get at. It should be as easy as opening up a little access panel on the back of the dryer and reaching in and grabbing it and sliding these things out. But, you know, that's the way mechanical engineers are at these appliance companies. They're not very smart. Hey, the other thing too, while you're at it, is, you know, you can clean all this dust and dirt up here. Come on here, what kind of ship are you running here, huh? Look at this, clean up that mess. Let's get that cleaned off. Okay, so here's the new part here in the box. This is your new heater for your Samsung dryer. This is your new heater element for your Samsung dryer here. One more time. Okay, so this is the new heater element part here in the box for your Samsung dryer. And you open it up there, and there it is, nice and shiny and new. And we'll pull it out of the box here. And by the way, I'll put a link to this heater element down in the description for you, so you can check it out for yourself. Whenever you go to Amazon to check out parts, always make sure that it's the correct part for your appliance. And if not, then you need to keep searching when you get there on Amazon for the correct part. I'm going to use my miniature Ryobi blower here to blow all of the big dust off here. Love this tool. Normally I use this when I'm using my miter saw here on the workbench here, and I use this to blow all the sawdust off of the pieces of wood as I cut them. Okay, now I'm going to use my Amway LOC wipes. I've been using LOC for decades. I love this stuff. So these wipes are really convenient to use. They got the soap and cleaner right on them there, the LOC. So you can use this to clean off whatever didn't blow off there. Make sure you have a nice, good, clean surface in here, that there's no dust or dirt or anything. Clean both sections off. By the way, I'm also an Amway distributor too, so if you want to get any Amway products, I'll put the link down in our description here, and you can click to it to go to my Amway page, and you can order stuff from there as well. And we get a commission for that too, so we thank you for your support in that. That's what helps keep the channel going. Okay, so now it is time to assemble the new one. And as you can see here, you line it up there, and you put one lead through the bottom of the connector there, and the other lead goes through the top of the connector there. Okay, now I'm going to come over to one side of it here and just twist it up a little bit like that, and I'll come over to this one down here on the bottom, and we'll twist the tab up a little bit there. That way it's nice and stuck. It won't push back in. It'll remain stationary for us. Okay, now prior to putting the lid back on here, you want to make sure you know where everything's going to line up like this here, right? But you need to make sure that these holes here line up to these holes. So 2 holes and 2 holes have to line up first. Then you put this on, and then we'll run a screw right through it there, see? You want to make sure you can see all the way through it. Don't forget to put these 2 tabs back in right here. Remember them? We had to twist them to get them out. So you only need to twist one of them. So I'll put him back. Now it's all tightened down on the corner, and we can put in all of the screws. have it, folks, after a bunch of pomp and circumstance over nothing. All right, so now just for chuckles, we're going to ohm this out and make sure that this new heating element doesn't have an open circuit on it. So let's test it. We'll put some audio to it. Hit the sound button. So watch the screen here. When I touch these together and you get continuity, you'll get a beep. See? So now we'll put it on here on the leads. And there we go, we get a beep. We get right just under 10 ohms, which is right in the target range, because most heating elements you want it to be somewhere between 5 ohms and 50 ohms as the correct measurement of impedance that you should be seeing here across the two terminals of the heating element. All right, let's vacuum out the cavity here. Before we put the heater element back into place there, take a close look back in there. You see these two tabs, one on the upper right and one on the upper left there? I want you to memorize that position there. Because see where they're going to fit right there? On the top of the heating element housing there, the tube there, those little indents there are going to fit right over those tabs. Okay, and remember we're putting the wires back exactly the way they came off. If you remember the picture we took at the beginning, you want to make sure all of the wiring matches the way it was when you took it off. Okay, so we'll lift up on this. Get this guy in there. Got him over his tabs, and the front one over his tab there. Okay, so now we're going to screw in this other screw back here. And the only way you'll know that you're in all the way with this like you're supposed to be is that screw will find its home. And same with the one on the front here. If you're not in all the way, and this doesn't come all the way to where it's supposed to, you'll know you're screwed up. Okay, before we hang the front panel, we got to remember to plug in this door open switch back so he gets connected on, and then we can hang it right on the tabs. Okay, don't forget that these two screw bosses here at the bottom are the ones that have the washers. Okay, so now it's time to put the control panel back on, but before we do that, we have to remember that these two connectors here connect to their corresponding connectors here in the back of the control panel here before we hook it back up here. So he goes in there, and this other one here goes in there, like that. Whole panel here. You stick the little tabs in their corresponding holes there. And once they fall in, you just push them forward. And make sure as you look across the top here, that all of these tabs line up and they land seated in the white plastic cutout for them. See that? You see all of these holes that are facing forward here, all along the front edge of it here? All of these slotted holes here correspond to all of these red tabs here along the front of the control panel. That's why we have to pull the lid off first to get the control panel out, because the control panel plugs into all of these little slotted holes here. So there's a total of 6 tabs that have to slide into those openings. Plug the dryer back in. Another thing to help is make sure your filter is always clean. If your lint filter is covered with lint, and I can tell you 90% of people's dryers that I've looked at are just clogged with lint, that restricts your airflow. It doesn't give the air a path to leave the drum to go out that back tube and into the wall and up and out to the outside. So if you have restricted airflow, your heater element is going to overheat and it's going to break on you. Again, your fault, not the fault of the machine. Okay, so let's throw a towel in there now. And let her rip. Okay, so then what you do is you come up to the roof here. This is the gooseneck vent where the tubing from our dryer pops up through the wall and comes up out here. Now as you stick your hand under here, you can feel the hot moist air coming out of it. That's how you know you have adequate flow. If you come up here, or maybe your vent is on the wall outside your house, but if you don't feel any airflow coming out of there when the dryer is on, then you know something's wrong. Now let's take a look underneath here, because see underneath, see how you have that grating there that protects from the critters getting in? You want to make sure that there's no lint up underneath here at all, clogging it. Now I've seen in the past where it was like a sponge. It was as thick as a sponge here, and we had to scrape it all off of there to get it all out of there because that was restricting the airflow. I can feel the hot air coming out on my knee, so I know it's gushing out really good. So we're nice and clean now. Well, there's a lot of detail in this because you can see how important the safety is here. So anyway, if you're finding this video useful so far, hey, go ahead and smash that like button down below there. Click on that thumbs up button. That lets us know that you like us. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, hey, why not? Make sure you click that subscribe button down below. And make sure you click the little gray bell icon next to it and select to receive all alerts from this channel. Otherwise, we'll upload videos and you'll never see them. And you'll never know when we go live as well, when we do our live streams. So that's it for this one, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this helps you out, and we'll see you on the next one.